Hey there, boys and girls of the YouTube world. Today, the Duff Dog and I are going to see if we can't get this 1967 Chevrolet C10 running for the first time in 16 years. So we picked this one up. A friend of a friend had this thing sitting in their fence line. Their grandfather bought it brand new, so this is technically a one-owner pickup. And let's cut back to that time when it was much warmer out, and we drug this thing out of a fence line, and we got it home. What do you think about this thing, Duff? She's been sitting out here in western North Dakota in the fence line. 07 was the last year it was tagged. Ran when parked. Duff just dented the hood. It's windy, it's cold. Let's get this thing loaded up and go home. And now we're back. It's still cold. We got a bunch of snow in the way, so I'm gonna take the skid steer, move some snow. Then we're gonna get Bernie. We're gonna yank this thing out of here. Hopefully, maybe, we'll see. Let's move some snow. You can't even see the 60 Cadillac. Somebody needs to own the shaggin' wagon, or the drug mule, stabbin' cabin, whatever we're calling that van. There it is. It's up to snow past the rear wheels, 3/4 of the way up the front wheels. Last tagged 12 of 07, so just about 16 years. Ran when parked, of course, and I might have snuck that 35.6 Ford cab in the back. I think it's a 36. So let's move some snow so we can hook onto this thing and get her in the nice warm shop, because I think the high today was 14 degrees and the wind's blowing about 35 mile an hour out of the north. Well, now that we got the snow moved, let's see if we can extend the arms on Bernie here so that we can get underneath it better, because, you know, I love reading the tow truck comments about how I suck at running one. You ready to do this? Yeah, everybody comment that this thing needs to be 4-wheel drive or have limited slip. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't need it. All right, let's get this thing in the shop where it's warm. We're gonna let that thing thaw for a little bit. And it wasn't even a Tiffany this time, it was Mojo. Said, but we could tap on them from the backside. Check out our new decals. We don't have them made into shirts yet, but. So comment down below if you think we should make that logo onto a t-shirt and some decals and everything available for you guys. Degrees 400. That's about 386 degrees warmer than it is right now. Last tagged 07. This thing, I think it was a custom with the trim on there. Could you get them without any trim at all? I don't know. I think there's a higher trim package with 2 pieces of trim. Anyway, we'll do a walk around in a bit once this thing thaws. Of course, some dummy left the window down. I think that was because you couldn't get in through the door and because it was really nice that day and we needed to steer. She's a 4-speed. I think it's a small block. Whew, radio delete. All right. We need to let it thaw first just to show you how much snow we got. I already drug some out of here, but the whole bed is plumb full of snow, and you guys saw how it was halfway up the box side. So we're gonna let this thing thaw out before we ever even rip into it. Right, Duff? Yeah, I know, you want to climb inside and check it out. Speaking of that, we got some other good stuff on that trip. I think that's a Plymouth or Dodge 34.5 grill. I got a grill thing going on. Somebody stole the grill for this truck before we got it, but we got the radiator. Let me show you what I got going on. The old grill situation here. I've been collecting grills for as long as I can remember. I don't know if you guys can see those because of the light, but 34 to 36 International, like a 34.5 Chevy, 36 Ford truck, 237 Ford truck, 37 Ford car, 38.9 Ford car, and a 39.40 Ford car, and a 73.4 Chevy square body. But wait, there's more. And we got a couple 33.4 commercial truck grills and a 34 car grill. Ford, of course, you know, because I hate Fords. I think that's like a 33.45 Dodge truck. Pretty cool, big, bulky thing. Another 33.4 Ford commercial, 35 Chevy, a couple 34 to 36 Internationals. Short and 32 Ford car, another 32 passenger car, 35 Ford car, 36 Ford car, and a 33 Ford car grill. Yeah, I like grills. They look cool hanging on the wall, so I figured, well, the wall, whatever, we'd hang them from the rafters. That way people could actually see them, and nobody's gonna get their grubby mitts on them and walk off with them if they're hung up there, right? Just decorating the shop here. Right, Duff? Yeah. All right, we're letting this thing thaw. We're gonna have some sandwiches and work on something else tonight, I guess. I guarantee that box isn't thawed out tomorrow. No way. Winter can be over anytime, yo.
3 days later.
Was Eldred thawed out enough for a guided tour around it there, Duffalopagus? All right, let's get this show on the road. So, I do know a fair amount about 67 to 72 Chevrolets. I've been infatuated with them for quite some time. I've had many, many, many of them. So, I know a lot of worthless information about them. I know this dent in the hood is not factory OEM. These hoods fit 67 and 68 Chevy pickups, and I'm not sure about the GMCs. I think just 67 and 68 GMCs as well. These fenders are 67 Chevrolet and 67 GMC only because they do not have the marker lights in them. It's got the factory T3 headlight on not one, but both sides. Eldred kept his 67 all original. Got a pretty good whammo on that front bumper. Looks like she hooked on something and went, tipped her forward. It's got the painted bumper. I think you could get chrome as well, and then same deal with the grill surrounds and whatnot. What else we got going on here? It's got 16-inch wheels. What do we got? I can't even see the size. I think they're 700? Yeah, 716 LTs. I think most of these pickups are 15, so he opted for the 16-inch wheel option. Fender's good in the dog leg. They like to get it up here in the cup, especially on the other side where the battery is. It's pretty good. Little crease there. Really dry Western North Dakota rig. Rust in the cab corner. Rockers are good. Got a little crease down there. 67 was the only year of the small back window. You could get the large back window, which was called the panoramic view option, and then 68 it was mandated that they all went to big back windows. Same deal with the marker lights. So this is the 67 only box. It fits 67 GMCs and Chevrolet. That's got a pretty good whammy there, but a good body guy could probably work that out, right, Duff? Or you just make a short bed out of it, Duff, and you cut 8 inches out there and 12 inches back there, 20 inches shorter. Boom, short bed. What do you think about that? He says, I'm not interested in that. I just want to go see the inside and go for RIDEs. Two-tone pickup. Two-tone pickups came with this paint divider. Obviously, you gotta have a way to separate the paint. It's got the little cute 67, 68 small round mirrors. They didn't have sport mirrors on these. That came out in 69, I believe. He thought he knew where the tailgate was, but we were unable to secure it. It must have walked off. It's got a wood bed. From what I've always been told, wood beds were an option. Steel was standard. I don't know. I can't confirm that. I kind of like steel beds better because they don't rot out. but wood beds are easier to replace. I don't know, is what it is. When you shorten them, these are easier to shorten as well. You just get a bed kit instead of having to weld an entire floor. Yes, I have shortened a few of these. I know we haven't done any on the channel. That was pre-channel days. The white 71 that I own, that's a factory short bed frame and a long bed box. We shortened it, so the more you know. It looks like both the trims around the tail lights are missing. Eldred must have been driving by feel in his last few years. Ooh, pretty good whiskey dent there, that one. That one jarred you out of your seat. This box side's really nice, missing that piece of trim. Cab corner's good over here. That rocker's pretty pushed in. A few pieces of trim missing. If you found a few pieces of trim, knocked a few dents out, put a cab corner over there, this thing looks like it would be a pretty good pickup. Now you gotta find a tailgate, put a bed floor in it. The usual suspects. Look at how good that fender is. Yep, sure enough, the cups rotted out underneath the battery. I think you can buy those cups too. There's a couple of dents in the front fender. She's got character. You want to see the inside, don't you? I know I got a grill in there we got to get out, so I'll get that out and then you can have free range of the interior. How about that, pal? Thumbs up? High five? Yeah. All right, let's do it. As you can see over there, the back one is the door handle, the front one's the window crank. But conveniently on this side, we got two window cranks. This one does in fact run the window, as you can see by it giving me the old guillotine action. And it stinks like poop in here real bad. That's all poop, poop, poop. But the door mechanism is stripped. And as you can see, the push button is, these things are pretty notorious for doing this. The push button is no longer pushing. So you're gonna have to check out the interior from the other side, pal. This is a Henry J door. Comment down below if you know what a Henry J is. Oh, and look, another Henry J door. She's a Dodge Brothers. I think it's like 36, 37, maybe even 38. Apparently somebody stopped at Texas Roadhouse on this trip. That's all poop. Poop, poop, poop. Poop again! Seat's torn. It's got, I think that's one of the pieces of trim. Ugh. Seat does not want to tip ahead. Maybe there's a latch. Ooh, the old jack is back there, or a jack. This thing's gonna be bad. We need to just get the door open and just pressure wash this thing out, Duff. The box. Whew. Luckily it rotted out, so it didn't hold all the fecal matter. Skid plate's missing. She's a 4-speed on the floor. These knobs are notorious for breaking. And then there's, I don't know, people put rivets in there. Because the back, this is pop metal and the back bracketry is steel, so they like, I don't know, pinch them together somehow using magic, and that breaks. So these levers and or these things got screws or rivets in them. This thing has even got the cigarette lighter delete. You can't even test the cigarette lighter. Radio delete. Ashtray. Eldred was not a smoker, clearly, because they didn't get the cigarette lighter. And the ashtray's empty. Got a little Christmas tree thing right here, maple leaf, I don't know. Oh no, dang it. That just ruins it for me, this pickup being rusty up there. Frickin' mice, dang it. So excited about this 67 too. Oh well. Looks like 86,073 miles. I think the early 67s and 68s had the lever underneath there, underneath the dash for the park brake. And then 69 to 72 had the push pedal over there on the side. Keys in it, and it turns. Dang it, doesn't fire up. I don't think that is the correct mirror, but I'm not sure. Oh man, that cheapskate only got one visor even. This thing is super budget. I think 4-speed was an upgrade from the 3-speed though. I think it's got a V8. We're gonna find out when Duff opens the hood. Ugh, that just freaking ruins my day. Oh, dang it. We should eradicate mice. Duff, you gonna open the hood? You gonna come have the honors of opening the hood for us? You're a good pup. Do your thing. You are a gentleman and a scholar, Sir Duffaluppagus. Sure enough, small block Chevy. I don't know if that's a 283 or a 327. Or it could be, I think he did say they replaced it with a 350. Sure enough, it's got the accessory holes in the front of the head. It is still a short water pump setup. They got the typical doubled up brackets on the alternator, ram horn manifolds, 67, first year of the mandatory dual reservoir brake cylinder. Points ignition, I think 67 through 70 was all a linkage, a mechanical linkage, rod, whatever for your throttle, and then 71 and 72 have cables. Your worthless information for you. Air cleaner is missing. Carburetor, oh, a little sticky, but she moves. Somebody took the heater hoses off and laid them over there and plugged them. I wonder if the heater core wasn't leaking towards the end. Yeah, because they just plugged these off. So my thoughts are, heater not working, so clearly only summertime vehicle in northwest North Dakota. And then the door, you could only get in from the outside towards the end or the inside, one or the other. One of those latches went bad, not latches, levers, buttons went bad, and they didn't fix it. And then the other one went bad, and now the door doesn't open. So I think that was the death of old Eldred here, was that door latch. And then the heater made it so she was only a hay bale hauler in the summer. You weren't gonna go feeding cows in the winter with this thing. Plus it was only 2-wheel drive. All right, let's do our thing, get our battery out. Wes is gonna harass me because it took me 24 minutes before I put a battery in this thing. Get to work, he says. All right, no point in rushing perfection, Wesley. Settle down. Oh, battery tray's rotted out, so they put a 2x6 in there. Good work. Is the red cable power? Where's it ground? Who knows? Where is the ground? Our friendly mice have chewed through this ginormous power wire. I'm guessing this is feeding the key. That is not factory wiring. Where does that go? Goes underneath, out back? Oh, maybe they had a fuel tank in the back and they were running their fuel tank off of that. Who knows? Mice chewed that off. I think they're supposed to be, yep, right there. You're supposed to power up the main harness off the battery. So instead of powering up the main harness and the dash off the starter, like most GMs do, they come off the positive battery cable and they go to this terminal here, which should be mounted on the inner fender right there. And then this wire here is what powers up the entire vehicle. And unfortunately, it's all chewed up. So we're gonna have to fix that. Oh, found her battery hole down though. Oh yeah, just leave her hooked in the frame. Over the top of the battery like so. Oh yeah, good stuff. And what is with all these boards? These guys are ranchers, not carpenters. And there is our negative cable. Oof, that does not look good either. Oh dang it, it's got a flexi hose down there. And this heater hose has been chewed off, so we're gonna have to patch that. Oh, that went down to the block heater, because of course, she's a hybrid. Where's the plug-in at? I'm guessing it was electrical taped up there at one point. Coolant? Bone dry. How about the dipstick, Jimmy? You got anything on that? Some of these had a metal upper radiator hose too, I think. Or was that 60 to 66s? Yeah, that's probably 60 to 66. Oh, she's in the operating range. Nice and black. It's not over full, so hopefully not too much water got in there without an air cleaner on it. Before we do anything, let's see if this thing turns over. Oh boy. That's not good for business. Well, I'm not excited about that. Either way, we're gonna have to work on this thing a little bit, and there's a lot of fecal matter, and we just happen to be right by the pressure washers, so let's clean a little fecal matter out from underneath the engine bay. Well, we got a great opportunity to flush that out and on to bigger and better places for said rodent fecal matter. How about that?
How about that?
Well, everything's drying off here. Let's clean off the stamping pad and see what the suffix on this gem is. I feel like the previous owner told me it had been replaced at some point, so let's find out what this small block Chevrolet V8 really is. CE. Looks like we got two sets of numbers. CE 7P 27678, and then S1109 CFC, or is that an HC? I don't know. I'm gonna look those up on nastyz28.com and see what we come up with. So this is the part I geek about. So this number looks like it's original, and this number over here starting with an S at an angle looks like a stamp later. Let's go over these numbers. So this first number is CE7P 27678. CE stands for crate engine, so this was an over-the-counter crate engine, and the last digits would just be the sequential number of when said number was created. So basically all we get out of that was this was a warranty replacement engine at some time, or an over-the-counter GM engine that somebody purchased, which from what I understand, this engine had been replaced at some point. So then it gets more interesting. So this number that looks like it was added later is S1109 CFC. So what we usually look for is the suffix, and that suffix CFC comes up as a 1982 Chevrolet 305. So I don't know how they could. I'm confused. So we dug into it even further because I'm a geek. So then, at the back of the engine, right down there, I don't know if you guys can see it, is the casting number. And that's what the block originated as. And trying to read that number with a light and a mirror and everything's backwards, it took me a while, because of course that number has a lot of 5s in it, or 2s, which upside down a 5 looks like a 2, and guess what a 6 looks like? A 9. So I punched what I thought was in there, and I couldn't find the number. And so then I dug a little bit deeper, stuck my head in there a little bit deeper, and I found out that the 9s were actually 6s and the 2s were 5s, or vice versa. And that number that I got is 395-9512. What does that mean? That means that this was a factory GM replacement block. It's kind of up in the air as to what this block is. Most of them were 327s. Some of them were 302s, like the DZ302-69 Camaro. And some of them were 350s. Some of them were large journal, some of them were small journal. So large journal is like your 350 Chevy. Small journal is what your 283s were, and some of your early 327s. Later 327s could be large journal. You could bore this block out, ream out the journals, not ream them out, but machine them out, you know what I mean, so that this could be either a large journal or a small journal. If it started life as a small journal, you can make it a large journal. So the other things about this block is it's got a spin-on oil filter, which started in '68. This pickup, being a '67, would not have a spin-on oil filter. And that was part of this 512 block, we'll call it, instead of saying 396-96-512. It was called a 512. The other thing with the 512 block is it's not a road draft tube or a PC, well, it's a PCV, I guess what I would call it. Right there on the back of the block, that holds machine for it. The valve covers do not have a PCV, which is what this 67 should have had. So the beauty of this block is, if it's a large journal, you can stick a 350 crank in this thing and have a 283 or 327 looking block that's actually a 350. Or you can get real crazy and you can drop a 400 or aftermarket crank in this thing and get yourself a 383 that looks just like a 283 or 327. It's got that road draft tube or PCV tube. You can have the smooth valve covers, all that good stuff. This thing does have later heads with the bolt holes in the front for the accessory holes, as shown here and here, where the original 327 or 283 that came in this pickup, the accessories mounted off the intake manifold, off the water pump, and off the front of the ram horn manifold. So it doesn't have the ideal heads for, you know, making this thing look sleek and old and cool. But the other thing is, this would be an over-the-counter replacement block for a DZ302, which would be basically a 69 Camaro. You wouldn't have a numbers matching, but if you had the right paperwork saying that your 69 302 Camaro Z28 car had a replacement engine ever installed, if you had this engine and you had that car, you could say technically it wouldn't be numbers matching, but you could say that somebody replaced that DZ302. So there is a ton of options with this engine. That's why you always want to check out the numbers that are stamped in the front of your block. Not so much the suffix. I don't know why the suffix comes up as a 305. A 305 is like a 3.76 inch bore, and a 327 and the 302 and the 350 are all 4-inch bores. So we can pull the head off and we can measure that to verify, but I can almost guarantee this is not a 305, because a 305 never came with the block board in the back for that PCV or the road draft tube. So the plot thickens with this thing, and guess what we're gonna do, because I kind of want to build a 55 Chevy Gasser and I want to keep it old school. This would be the ideal block. You could put a stroker crank in it. You could have a nasty 383 that looks just like a 283 or 265 or 327 that would have came back in the day, but you could have a heck of a lot more horsepower because you got more displacement, and there is absolutely no replacement for displacement. So that being said, we're gonna step out of our comfort zone here. We're gonna pull the spark plugs out. We're gonna stick our schlong in there, and we're gonna see what is going on in the cylinders. And we're even gonna put some oil in there, just for that guy last week that flipped out and that said that Puddin's a way better content creator because he puts oil in the cylinders first. That this thing's a little bit stuck, and the compressor's kicking on. So let's pull some spark plugs out and let's see what's going on with this replacement engine. I'm excited. Duff is not. He's sleeping somewhere. Look at this, even laid the spark plugs out like they come out. We're taking some care with this one. Was it number 5? She's got a fair amount of rust in there. And then number 8. I mean, none of these are the worst spark plugs we've seen by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not looking real good in there. A lot of humidification got inside them cylinder walls. Let's get the schlong out and probe around in there and see what we can come up with. All right, we got the schlong out here. I think there's a link in the video description if you want this thing. I don't know. I've probably had this thing for over 2 years. I haven't even charged the battery on it yet. This thing is way good. It's made by Tesla, but we call it the schlong because it's much more funner to say. All right, we're going in. Oh man, there's a lot of dirt inside my gear. Okay. Cylinder number 1 going in. That one's pretty much top dead center. Everything looks good. It actually looks like it just budged recently. You can see there's a little bit of a clean area right on the piston wall right there. Cylinder wall, piston wall. Let's check out number 3. Everything looks good there. Flat top pistons. Don't see anything going on. Get too excited about much for rust or anything. A little bit of corrosion on the top of the piston. Number 5, this is one of the rusty ones. There again, it looks like it just budged ever so slightly. No corrosion or anything in there. Number 7's down a ways. Look at that, you can see, okay, come on, pick that up. See if the camera will pick that up. You can actually see some of the cross hatching on the cylinder walls yet. Never mind those streaks going up and down where the piston went, but I promise you there's a little cross hatching in there. All right, everything looks good on the driver's side. Let's go probe around on the passenger side, and hopefully we don't see anything crazy over there. Then we'll just put some oil in this thing and maybe put it in gear, rock it back and forth. Everything looks really good in there. Probably gonna want to get some new spark plugs. Ooh, that was a little furry. Cylinder number 2, she's got a little corrosion on the piston, but the cylinder wall looks pretty good. But there's some corrosion on that piston top. I don't know. I think it'll run. Yeah. We'll put some oil in there. It'll be fine. I would say that's the one that's probably giving us an issue. How did that spark plug look in oil number 2? Oh yeah. I mean, not any worse than any of the other 3 terrible ones. AC 44s, in case you were worried about what they were running in this thing. Eldred kept his GM, all GM. Well, number 4 looks a little further too. 6 is at top dead center, it looks amazing. 8 is at top dead center, it looks good too. All right, let's give him a liberal douche into the old coil and the cylinders.
Summer's Eve, when your man's in a coma from your panty aroma. Summer's Eve. Douche.
That should do everything to appeal all you folks on the internet that says I'm doing everything wrong. Just kidding. I'll never be good enough for the internet. Where the French is the spark plug girl? See if we can't put a little more tension on this belt. So we're trying to turn it over with the fan. It doesn't slip on us. Not a terrible idea, right? All right, we have let this replacement block 327, 302, 350, whatever it is, soak for a couple hours. Let's grab that fan and we retension the belt on and see if we can get this thing rocking back and forth. Like I said, when we stuck the schlong down the cylinder hole, looks like she'd been turning a little ways, so I don't think she's stuck real bad. There was a little corrosion on the number 2 and 4 tops of the pistons, but nothing that was too concerning. So let's give her a little brute strength, see what happens. Duff, are you excited to hear this thing turn over, fire up, go for a ride? Yeah, that's the word we want to hear. Here goes nothing. And nothing is exactly what we're getting. The belt's just slipping. We'll rock it back and forth, maybe? Alright, let's put her in gear, see what happens when we rock it. You got her in first, let's see what happens. Seem to want to budge. Move to. Well, keep trying on it, I guess. Move to. I guess it ain't gonna hurt to throw a battery in it. Try cranking over that way and see what happens. Put our wood block battery spacer in there. Dave's not here, man, as our battery sponsor this week. Guessing I got that battery in there backwards because that ground cable's not gonna reach. Maybe we'll clean them up a bit. We don't want that grounding out on anything. That'll be bad news bears. Now let's get a loser switch, see what happens. Well, that was a real bugger. Bugger. Well, we got our loser switch hooked up to the starter solenoid, which is the purple wire, the inside terminal. It's a real sweetheart to get at. That's one thing that I will give Ford with putting the solenoid on the inner fender there. Way easier to get your engine cranking over. Let's see what happens. I'm not gonna stand there just in case coil comes shooting up. Let's stand in front of the engine. Are you kidding me? Turns right over. Why couldn't I? It must be that, 11.5 to 1 compression that this over-the-counter DZ302 has. All right, let's spin her over a few times, get some of that coil out of there, and get everything all limbered up. See what happens. Slingshot engage.
Slingshot engaged.
And then it stops. Well, what's the deal there? Can we turn it backwards by hand? Get right. Oh, there it went. What's holding us up, Duff? Let's tap her again, see if it comes to an abrupt stop once again. Okay. No crank even. Bad connection. Everything's good there. Surely it can't be these terrible battery connections. Well, what the French toes? There we go. Just a bad connection on the starter, maybe? Ew. That's a little bit more than the coil that we put in there. Yeah, good news is it turns over and we got the crud out. Since we're taking so much painstaking care to do our best to get this mystery engine living again, let's do a compression test and see what we got for a baseline. Alrighty then.
Alrighty then.
Let's start with cylinder number 1. Did I pick the right adapter? It doesn't seem to be threading in. There we go. Now we're gaining some traction. So I gotta hold this. I gotta hold the throttle wide open. And I gotta hit the loser switch. So I'm gonna have to do multi-functions with the left hand. Here we go. Any bets? Ooh, I'm gonna say 95. Or 0. Can that be? I guess so. Just a double check. Let's try this adapter. Maybe that was the wrong adapter and it wasn't sealing. Who knows? I've done a lot dumber things. Try number 2. I think it blipped almost up to 50, so it must have been that adapter. Let's try adapter number 3. This one's gonna be the ticket. You just gotta use the right adapter. It's kind of like using the right scale. If Ford was making these compression testers, they wouldn't even have numbers on it. They would just have colors. Green means good. Red means not so good. All right, 3rd time's a charm. There we go. Looks like we're getting about 50. Not off to a good start here. Congratulations if you guessed 50. What are you guessing on this one? I'm gonna say 65. Not working? 30. I think my gauge is no good. You know why? Because it's a cheap one. snap on. I should borrow Pookie's just to see if it makes any difference. Alright, let's see if 5 impresses us. 1 and 3 were pretty lackluster. I must not have got that threaded in there. Usually I do my best work in the dark, but... Guess we're not getting any compression on number 5. That's disappointing. How about number 7? Give us a little light here on the driver's side bank. Oh yeah! I saw 75. I think I'm not getting it threaded all the way in on number 5. So we're just gonna pretend like we didn't even test number 5. Maybe we'll try a different adapter on number 5, see if that makes a difference. Nope, that one ain't gonna work either. Maybe if we use an extension, it'll go. Fat fingers just don't want to reach in there. Yeah, I think the threads are just bunged up enough. That should be tight enough. Now we're gonna get a reading on 5. Or we're not. 5 is not happy. Let's go over the other side and do her all over again. Compression tests bore the snot out of you too, huh? Let's see if the passenger side's any better. .50. I can definitely hear a valve hanging up over on, I believe it's this side. Maybe we should pull a valve cover off and see what the heads are. And, lube up some valves. .40. Not amazing, but we'll take it. This right here might have something to do with why the heater hoses weren't hooked up. Isn't that heater course? Bad shape. Alright, let's try out number 6. Oh, new world record. We're calling that 100. I was hoping to see some 100s all the way across. But you can hope in one end and you know what in the other. Alright, number 8, last but not least. We're calling that 65. Way better on this side. Not amazing, but better. Well, we haven't done a compression test in quite a while, probably since the aftermath of the 1970 Pontiac that we got that thing loose. And we did the video on the second channel where we got the compression after the fact on that car, but I just reminded myself that we need to unhook the fuel line on this thing after we've been cranking it over a bunch. We probably picked up a bunch of that 2006 fuel, 16-year-old fuel. So let's cut that fuel line before we pull up anymore. Hopefully we didn't fill the carburetor all full of gas from 2007. That would be no bueno, right, Duff? Man, you're just killing it today. Give her the old snip snip. Speaking of snip snips, did you know that March is the month where most people get the old snip snip? Oh, sure enough. Fuel came out of there and it looks like varnish. Well, hopefully that pump didn't pump any up the carburetor, but yeah, I guess people like to get the snip in March so that they can stay at home and watch college basketball. I guess makes sense. So get that scheduled for next year if it's on your agenda for 2024 to get the old snipperooski. That is not your Mortske minute. Well, the fuel disconnected and we got compression let's see if we got spark before we put the plugs back in. And then we're gonna probably have to round up some plugs. But we'll just put a jumper wire up the coil. See if we get any spark action going on. And no, I'm not gonna electrocute myself. Foreshadowing. Definitely will not get the power of Grayskull this week. Cheese and rice.
By the power of Grayskull.
Ow! Yep, it's got spark. Let's do it again. Ah! I don't know why it's shocking me. Son of a biscuit. I'm gonna leave that hooked up to the coil. And we're gonna pull that off the distributor. And we're gonna get ourselves a jumper wire. I'm gonna hook this up to the positive side of the coil. And then hook it up to the positive on the battery. What are the odds we got spark after 16 years sitting in the fence line? Pretty slim, I'm guessing. Don't electrocute me. Oh, look at all that. No need for the Mortske flick. The fan just about got me though. That's happened before.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Alright, let's test her again. Oh, not the starter. Look at that. All kinds of sparkage. Sweet, let's throw some plugs in this thing. And a little bit of hot sauce. She's gonna be ready to rip. We pulled a set of 44 Delcos out of this. I got some R43s. These are the 13/16 hex that have the sealing washer on there. So we're gonna slide those in. They should be pretty close to the 43. They got the resistor in there, you know, so they didn't screw up everybody's radio. That's what Grandpa always said anyway. And 43 is either hot or cold, one or the other. Let's slide them in there. Get this thing that much closer to firing up for the first time in 16 years. Since I could hear that valve train ticking underneath there, I think it was a stuck valve or a sticky valve. Let's pull this valve cover off and see what it looks like on this side. And spray much Croil on there, and if it doesn't look that good, maybe we'll do a little bit more cleaning. Probably do the other side. So let's take the 4¼ inch bolts off and see what we got underneath the valve cover. These are some kind of strange valve covers. They look like a 350 valve cover, but they don't have the PCVs in there. They don't look like a 283 or 327 valve cover. They're kind of a oddball. Also, we'll be able to see what serial number, part number, casting number the heads are. And that might tell us a little bit more of what's going on here, but probably not. The problem with heads is they're so easy to change. They could literally be off anything. Or it could have been whatever GM had laying around that day when they put this thing together. Alright, let's try not to wreck the gasket. Oh, look at that. Holy buckets. This thing is like mint inside. There is no sludge or anything in there. This thing looks like a brand new engine. I'm guessing it was well maintained and probably didn't get many miles on it after it was swapped in and or rebuilt. Like I said, it was sticking a little bit, so let's spray down all these lifters, valves. D217. So A, B, C, D, January, February, March, April. April 21st, I believe, is when that head was cast in the 7, so probably 77. And the head numbers are 394-6813. Let's look that up. So according to Chevy Hardcore, the 394-6813 is a 69 through 77 350 cubic inch cylinder head. 76 cc chambers, 174 and 150 inch valves. So I'm guessing that code that we see there is April 21st of 1977. So I'm guessing this was an over-the-counter engine. that was swapped out when it was low mileage-ish, and then somebody put these cylinder heads when they rebuilt it at a later time, or they rebuilt the heads, is I'm guessing what happened. We should look up the date code on the block, but it's a real pain to get at, so we're just gonna assume that this is a 350. Sound good? All right, talk me into it. Nothing special about the heads. They're just your standard smog issue heads, near as I can tell. See if we can see anything hanging up in there. Everything looks to be doing what it should. Tell you what, let's open the other side up too. Quick and easy. 4 bolts, like I said. Let's put this side back together. What the heck? Yeah, let's put it back together. We don't want any debris getting inside there, because that is way too nice for us. Sure enough, same date code, D217, and the same casting number, so they do match. That's always good. Let's see if this one's functioning like it should. I think so. Look at the inside of that valve cover. I've cleaned ones and they don't even look that good. Let's hook our vacuum hoses back up that we bumped. I don't have any vacuum leaks. Alright, I think this thing's ready for some hot sauce. Alright, let's give it a little tickle of hot sauce. Make sure you fill the float bowl. Don't just spray the fuel all over like a douche. Actually get it into the float bowl so that way it continues to run longer than a half a second. Mojo's just going all out today with the air hose. Hook up our coil wire. Here goes nothing. A slingshot. Engage. I can hear one of the plug wires arcing somewhere, so that's not good for that plug wire. Give it a little more hot sauce. Trying to go though. Doesn't help the lack of compression. You got pops and then spins and then pops and then spins. It's because of the lack of compression on several of the many cylinders that we have. They're lacking the compression. We'll get her to go though, and once we get her a few heat cycles in it, it'll come on. Come on, baby. She's close. Boost with the old charger. You're spinning a little faster, that'll boost the compression, right, Duff? He's watching from a distance. I think we're gonna have to hook up a boat tank, get some pressure up in this carburetor. And I wonder how sludged up that is from pumping all that bad fuel into it. gonna go though. Definitely gonna go. We're gonna have ourselves a race car engine.
God help me, I got a race car.
Oh, my Lanta. Just light off. You know you want to. We're about out of hot sauce here, so. Baby, we are close. We need some more hot sauce, and we need a boat tank. ASAP. Woo, that's a lot of sludge. Oh, man. That is thick stuff. The glass pack is full. Less full than it was before, right? Yeah. Duffers is. Got our boat tank hooked up. I got an electric pump on there. We can hook up that 12-volt battery just to boost it and see if that'll push enough fuel up here. And it just seems like I have a lot better luck getting these things to run when you actually got fuel pressure going to the carburetor, and then we can kind of test out the float and all that stuff real quick too. So usually the carburetor is what's going to give you the most problems, but you got to get fuel to it first. So that's what we're doing now. And you want good fuel, not that icky stuff from 20 years ago in the fuel tank. All right, let's start her off with a little hot sauce. I'm gonna turn my 12-volt pump on. I can hear it pushing air. Well, we're getting fuel up there anyway. All right, here we go. Slingshot engage. Ooh, that starters. Got a heck of a bang when she stops. Oh, did we hurt something? She's spinning a little slower now. See, our accelerator pump is pumping. Pump the jams. Well, she's a pretty weak stream. A few of you know what that's all about, but all right. Let's give her a shot. Take a little hot sauce, see if that helps out. All right, now we can run the throttle. Here we go. Slingshot engage. She's gonna go this time for sure. And she sounds like she's got a rod knock. I think we still got spark, don't we? Oh yeah. Come on, baby. Oh, I think we've got a fuel issue. We're getting solid spark now. It's a compression issue as well. And it sounded like there was a rod clattering away in there, but I don't know. Guess we're gonna find out. Come on, baby. Come on! Oh, I shouldn't have let off. There's definitely a noise there. So Duff says we should probably check oil pressure, seeing as how we're hearing some bottom end noise. Well, I got the loser switch up here, and I'm always making fun of Ford gauges for being L and H. Guess what the oil pressure gauge on this 67 Chevy pickup is? Hey, at least it's got the full gauge package. They did get that option. There's like the speedometer and fuel gauge and then dummy light option too. So at least we got a oil pressure gauge. Look at that. L and H. Can you guys see that needle? There we go. All right, cranking. So we got all kinds of oil pressures. So who knows? We gotta get it running for a little bit longer, but sure sounds to me like there's a bottom end noise. Maybe that's another reason they parked it. I doubt it's anything that we just inflicted, but who knows? If she's blowed up, I guess we're not gonna hurt it because it's already blowed up. Come on now. There's some definite noise going on. Oh, there's definitely some part scatterage. Let's take a break and grab a sandwich and sit down with Tiffany and see what it is. It could be the starter clanging around in there. We can try that, see if we can find a manual small block Chevy starter. Or are these the same as automatics? I don't know. We need to figure that out. And sit back and think about what just happened. Determine our next steps. So I got the ignition off. Let's just crank it over without firing it and see if we can hear a noise. Let's see if it'll even still crank over, I guess. Ooh. Yeah. I think we got a mechanical issue. Well, you know, we just can't never leave nothing well enough alone, so let's put the old 67 on the hoist, pull the engine out, or rip into the engine. We got to figure out what's clattering, so let's do this. All right, we got the old 67 up in the air. Let's get a look at the bottom side. See if we can figure out what's going on here. Looks like the hybrid plug-in motor thingers shat its guts out. So that's no bueno. One little whammy in the old cross member. Oh, this control arm's folded under pretty good. Ranch pickups, gotta love them. Pretty dry though underneath here. It's got a spin-on oil filter adapter, it looks like. Not just your regular spin-on, so. Maybe it is a earlier block with an adapter. It is a 3-bolt starter instead of the 2-bolt like the automatics have, so I think the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take that off and look in there and make sure the noise doesn't come from the starter, but I don't know that that's gonna help us out. Not sure we can sneak the oil what the heck? Well, that's interesting. The exhaust is smashed right into the oil drain plug. So, I wonder how that happened. You know, there's no way to change the oil. You couldn't get a wrench on that if you absolutely had to. And it has been that way for quite a while. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's been recently ripped off the exhaust. I don't see a hole in the oil pan where a rod would have escaped. CarQuest filter. Dang it, it's not a Fram. The exhaust actually looks pretty good other than that part. Oh, and where we maybe pinched it with the lift. We should probably move that. Whoopsies. Maybe we just pulled it into that. No, it's definitely been like that for a while. So, yeah, here's what you look at on these 67 to 72s. These floor supports, make sure they are present and accounted for. I guess you'd call that either the floor or the inner rocker. A little bit of rust there. A little bit of rot in this rear cab support, but usually these are gone. You can tell they've been going through some stuff because this flap should be vertical on the back of the cab. That's bent up. Same on the passenger side. But these cab supports are phenomenal for what we usually see around here. Man, they went over something, hooked that inner fender, smacked the hell out of that cab support, and then it came and got the back of the cab too. Good stuff. Looks like most of the wood is actually in the bed. We got ourselves a glass pack. Awesome. Man, the breather is even on the rear end still. Pinion seal ain't weeping. That's surprising. The park brake cable isn't completely ripped off, but it's out of its holder. So that hasn't been working for a while. I think these all came with 12 volts. Yep. 2, 4, 6. Take it times 2. That's 12. I feel like this exhaust should go, I don't know. It shouldn't be touching this sway bar. Sway bar? Track bar. Panhard bar, whatever you want to call it. Oh, our exhaust hanger up there is busted. This one looks like she's on her way out. It does have the overload spring options, which is basically just a quarter elliptical spring that when it get enough weight on it, it touches on the back there. Oh yeah. Not too bad under here. Let's rehook this guy and figure out what we're gonna do next on the engine there. I think we're gonna have to pull her out, but we'll check that starter first. You hear that? There's something rolling around in that oil pan. She comes to a pretty hard stop. You hear that? See if we can get her to do it again. One does it when you come all the way around. Something definitely let loose in there. It should be pretty obvious when we take it apart. We're gonna pull that engine out because that, I mean, it's got to come apart to fix it, I assume, unless it's just a rod cap that fell off and you're just gonna bolt it back on. But pretty unlikely. It sounds like some damage has been done, so we're gonna pull that engine out of there. So I'm gonna start on the bottom here since I got her up in the air, and we'll nip that exhaust and pull the starter off. And I don't know if you get the engine mounts from the bottom on this or not. Right in the radiator, all that good stuff. How excited are you to pull another engine, Duff? On the positive side, this pickup's worth another engine, and it did run, so technically we're already ahead, if you don't think about it. Shall we see what the oil looks like? See if we get any big pieces anyway. Ooh. I can definitely see some metal in there. You should have an Olympic event, holding a starter over your head in an awkward position. We'll see who the true Olympians are. That is a fun thing to do. Look at this, what I noticed over here. The old shock condom busted. I think that would have made some noise. I think we're about wrapped up down here though. Ready to go to the top side. I should probably get the bell housing bolts while I'm down here. Yeah, I suppose. Well, that didn't go so bad, according to the camera. 35 minutes, and that was, you know, taking some pictures for the Instagram and fetching up the cherry picker. By the way, get yourself an air cylinder and put in a cherry picker. It's way more good. And then have Mojo build you a super long, strong arm so that you're no longer ramming the jack into the license plate to get engines pulled out. We should do a whole video on all the modifications I've done to this cherry picker to make it more gooder. But yeah, Mojo Craft, good stuff. I didn't really forget anything, surprisingly. There was that wire over there for the coil was wrapped up in the plug wires, but not a big deal. It looks like this exhaust may have been plugged off. Oh no. Is this the cause of our issues, that we couldn't get any exhaust out of this thing? Well, this is definitely froze shut. Well, kind of. She's been welded. Rancherized. Look at all this goodness. Oh, the mice were right up to the engine block. Cylinder walls, whatever. Well, let's open it up, see what happens. It sounds like it's bottom end, but I suppose a valve could have smashed into a piston and took out the rod or something. And our rubber engine mount decided to exit stage left. The engine mount has left the chat. Clutch looks pretty good though. Wasn't all full of mouse house, so that's a plus. All right, let's get this thing on a stand. Man, just rolling this thing over, you could hear a lot of shrapnel in there, so it should be pretty easy to determine what's going on or what happened. I don't know. Let's rip into it, find out. I'm good at taking stuff apart. Well, what are we gonna find? My door number 2. Oh, jeez, Christ. What's your problem? The last guy, or gal, glued her on real good, it appears. Just checking to make sure I didn't forget any bolts. I did not. Oh my. There we go. Well, there's a piece. That's the bottom of a piston. Oh. Oh my. Oh my. So this fell out. That's the bottom of a piston. There's more of a piston there. A little bit more there, and oh, that's at the wrist pin. So I would say that's the top part of a piston. So I wonder what caused that. No bueno. Looks like it's a 2-bolt block. According to the interwebs, you could get these things, I think they were all 2 bolts, but there's some sources that maybe say 4-bolt. I think this is a small journal, it appears. I don't know my journal sizes offhand, and I don't open that many small blocks, but I'm pretty sure that is a small journal. So, what caused our pistons to disintegrate? And which one was it? This is the driver's side. Number 1 looks good. Number 2, the skirt is busted. Number, what's this? 4, skirt's busted. 3 looks good. Oh, there's some major damage in number 5. I can see piston rings floating around in there. Number 6 looks good. 8 looks good. 7 looks good. So I think 1, 3, 5 was where it all started, Duff. And of course, that was on the side where the mice went in the exhaust. This side, the exhaust looks fine. That side, it does not. So, yeah, we got a whole mess of hot garbage here. I suppose we could roll it over and try to measure the stroke, see if it's a 327 or a 350. Fantastic. Oh, no, it's got to be a 327. Small journal. They never made a small journal 350. So, it's a small journal 327, but there's enough meat in these blocks, and I guess there's a bunch of nickel, and they got really thick walls, so you can go up to 125 over, it sounds like, on these 512 blocks. Plus, you can have it line board and make it a large journal, so you can have a 383 that's 125 over. So you can have a 4 1/4 bore, based on what the internet says. And this one's gonna need something. So let's pull that head off and look at the top of the piston and the valves and everything else and see just what happened. Oh man, Duff, you got oil all over the floor. I'll clean that up. Watch how many parts come falling out the bottom when we roll it over. Oh, we got a mess. Here's a couple pieces for you, Duff. All right, what's behind door number 5? A steel gasket. I had a buddy in high school in Botech cut himself with one of these things, and it was nasty. Be very, very careful with steel head gaskets. Himself a small block Chevy just like this too. Got him real good. Tech tip of the day. Be careful with steel head gaskets. All right, we have our conclusion. This is no longer, what is it? We're just recovering a body. There's no revive in this thing. Well, I mean, there is, but Let me show you. It's gonna take a lot of work. So Duff said, you remember how we didn't have any compression on number 5? Well, guess what cylinder this is? Number 5. This is your intake on number 5. Guess where the exhaust on number 5 is? It has left the chat. So the mice went into the exhaust, went in there, made a house in there, and they rotted off that valve stem. Let me show you. See how that valve stem's all rusty? That means she was broken before we got into this. And we know that it was broken before we had it running because we did a compression test before it was ever even running. So, and you know, I could kind of hear something. I thought it was a valve. Yeah, that's probably what I was hearing when I was rolling this thing over. So could we have prevented it? Maybe. Would oil in the cylinders have done anything? No. At this point, the mice had already done that. The only way to prevent that would be to put steel wool in the tailpipe or something. And you can see, oh yeah, it screwed up the intake valve too. It doesn't close. Which these are smog junker heads, not a big deal. So that valve head fell off, went into our piston, and it didn't really hurt the cylinder wall that much. I still haven't found the valve head. We'll have to do some more digging for that. But this block could definitely be saved. I mean, look at this thing. This thing was like, it could have had 10,000 miles on it. I mean, everything is like new. The lifters are like new. The push rods are all, they aren't even like varnished up like they get just from running from gases in the intake and stuff. It is a shame. I think this thing was gone before we got there, and the only thing that would have saved it is if we would have completely tore this thing down, because I even bore scoped it, so I should have seen that valve head in there, but it wasn't in there. I mean, that I could see. So we gotta look a little bit harder, but this thing needed to come apart before we got in there. We unfortunately did a little more damage than it started out with, but I think you could bore this thing, throw some pistons in it, rings, obviously get a different set of heads. You're gonna build this thing up anyway, get some aftermarket heads or some camelbacks or something like that. These are just smog, what are they, 172s or 174s and 150s, so just babies. Get some 202 160s in there, and you'd have yourself a real ripper. So I don't think there's any damage to the crank. Should be good to go there. Like I said, this thing was just gone through, so all the bearings and stuff are probably salvageable. So there you have it. That is Duff's diagnosis. This 1967 Chevrolet C10 is available for sale. Price and availability down below. I'm kind of on the fence on this one about keeping it, and I want to keep that engine and, you know, build a gasser out of it or something. That if I'm going to build a small block, that is a really good one to build right there. A lot of possibilities. Plus it's 327. I think I only have 2 other 327s, which doesn't, it sounds like a lot to a lot of people, but one's in my wagon and one came out of my 71 Chevy short box that I had way back in the day. The distributor gear jumped, and so I put a 350 in it. I've just been saving it. That's a large journal. So yeah, I got a couple 327s on the shelf now, but the 67, we got like the motorhome. We could take the 350 out of that and drop in there. We got some other small blocks around. We could even use that Turbo 400 out of that motorhome and the steering column out of that motorhome, because that's a tilt with a column shift, so it would fit right in this pickup. We do have a title for it. It's kind of banged up, but it's dry. It's about as dry a pickup as you're gonna find, other than that rust under the headliner, which is, to be honest, that's kind of the deal breaker for me on this thing. So I don't want to fix that. 67s are cool. 1 year only small back window, 1 year only no marker lights on these things. The box got a whammy in the side, perfect for shortening. It's got pretty decent bedwood underneath it, but I would put new stuff in it. So perfect, order a short bedwood kit, find yourself tailgate. You put some disc brakes on it because you're gonna need brakes. Keep those 16s, I think they're kind of cool. Need some hubcaps. All right, fortunately, it's kind of where we're gonna wrap this thing. Remember, it doesn't matter how you get it done, as long as you're having fun. I like taking stuff apart. We always made fun of my grandpa because he only owned left-handed wrenches. Apparently that's me now, just taking stuff apart. What are we gonna work on next, Duff? Probably cleaning up this mess, huh? Yeah. After some further inspection, you can see that crack in the camera. She's gonna need a sleeve. I'm guessing something expanded in there. I didn't find the valve, but the bearings don't say standard. The pistons don't say standard or anything on it, so I think it's still a standard bore. Almost no ring ridge on this thing. Bearings look like new. But we're gonna need a piston and a sleeve. And a head, probably a set of heads. And a cam and an intake. It only just needs everything, Duff. And a stroker crank, he says. Yeah. Good call. The old 512. What a shame. Sticky.
Maybe because it needs oil.
Just goes to show you that filling the cylinders with oil doesn't help in certain scenarios. We did everything right. We did a compression test. Okay, we should have known that one had zero, but we get lots of engines running with zero compression on one of the cylinders. But I guess we should have probed around with the bore, but oil in it wouldn't have prevented this. So quit complaining that I don't oil the cylinders. That's what happens. I put new plugs in, I oil the cylinders, I do compression tests, and then they grenade on me. Duff told me everybody needed to know that. Oil in the cylinders. No bueno.